My name is Harper. I am 17 years old, and today is January 2nd, 2026. And right now, at this exact moment, my family is finally realizing I am gone. They are standing in my empty bedroom, staring at the bare walls and the stripped bed and the note I left taped to my mirror. And they are panicking, calling my phone over and over, leaving voicemails that swing between anger and desperation and confusion. But what they do not know is that I have been planning this for 6 months, every single detail, every backup plan, every possible outcome, and while they are just now discovering I left, I'm already 3 states away, sitting in a coffee shop with a new phone number and a smile on my face because I finally did it. I finally escaped. It started 6 months ago in July 2025, when I had one of those moments of perfect clarity where everything suddenly makes sense. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing my summer reading for school, and my mom walked past me without saying a word, grabbed her purse, and left for a girls' weekend trip, and I realized she had not told me. She was leaving. She had not asked if I needed anything. She had not even said goodbye. She just left like I was a piece of furniture, and I sat there staring at the door she had just walked through, and I thought, how long would it take them to notice if I just disappeared? That question haunted me for days, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized the answer was probably a long time, maybe even never, unless they needed something from me. And that is when I started planning, not impulsively, not emotionally, but carefully, strategically, like I was planning a business venture, because that is what this was, an investment in my own future. And I opened a notebook, and I wrote at the top, Project Freedom, and under that I wrote my target date, January 1st, 2026, because I wanted to start the new year as a completely new person. First, I needed money, so I picked up extra shifts at my job at the clothing store in the mall. I babysat for neighbors every weekend. I sold old clothes and electronics on Facebook Marketplace. I did online surveys for gift cards that I converted to cash, and every single dollar I earned went into a secret savings account my parents did not know existed, an account I opened at a different bank across town using my school ID and a utility bill I had carefully intercepted from our mailbox. And over 6 months, I saved $4,800. Second, I needed a destination, somewhere safe, somewhere I could actually build a life. And I remembered my Aunt Rachel, my mom's younger sister, who I had always felt close to, even though we only saw each other once or twice a year at family gatherings. Rachel was the one who actually talked to me like I was a person, who asked about my interests, who remembered details from previous conversations. And one day in August, I called her from a burner phone I had bought with cash, and I said, Aunt Rachel, I need to tell you something, and I am trusting you not to tell my parents. There was a pause, and then she said, Harper, what is going on? And I told her everything, how invisible I felt, how my parents only noticed me when they needed something, how I was planning to leave on New Year's Day, and I needed to know if I could stay with her just until I turned 18 and got on my feet. And I expected her to try to talk me out of it, or worse, to tell my parents. But instead she said, I have been waiting years for you to realize you deserve better. Yes, you can stay with me. I have a guest room and you will be safe here. I cried on that phone call because someone finally saw me. Someone finally validated that what I was experiencing was not normal, was not okay. And Rachel said, I have watched your mother treat you like an afterthought your whole life, and it has made me sick, but I could not interfere. When you were younger, now you are almost an adult, and if you want out, I will help you get out. And that was when I knew this was really going to happen. Third, I needed documents. I needed my birth certificate, my social security card, my passport, my medical records, my school transcripts, anything that proved I existed. And that would be nearly impossible to replace. So over the next few months, I systematically went through my parents' files when they were not home. My dad kept important documents in a filing cabinet in his home office that he thought was locked. But I had learned years ago that the key was hidden under his desk stapler, and I found everything I needed, and I made copies, and I stored the originals in a waterproof bag in my backpack. Fourth, I needed to cover my tracks. Digitally, I created a new email address that my parents did not know about. I opened a new bank account at a different institution. I got a P.O. box in the next town over where I could receive mail. I researched how to change my phone number, how to get my school records transferred, how to register as an independent student for college, applications I learned about, emancipation laws, and what my rights were as a 17-year-old, and I documented everything. Every time my parents forgot about me, every dismissive comment, every moment I felt invisible, because I knew they might try to claim I was a runaway, and I needed proof that I was leaving for my own safety. Fifth, I packed strategically. I could not take everything, because I needed to fit my entire life into my car without it being obvious, so I started slowly moving things out of my room over the course of months, a few pieces of clothing at a time hidden in my work bag or my backpack, and I stored everything in my locker at work, and then I made hard choices about what mattered: my clothes, my laptop, my phone, my documents, my grandmother's necklace, the only thing I had from her, my journals, my favorite books. But I left behind yearbooks and stuffed animals and posters, because those were just things, and things could be replaced. The weeks leading up to New Year's were the hardest because I had to act completely normal. I had to pretend everything was fine, even though every day I woke up knowing I was one day closer to freedom, and my parents did not notice anything different because they never really looked at me anyway. My mom asked me once in mid-December if I was okay because I seemed quiet, and I almost laughed because I had been quiet my entire life. She was just finally noticing, but I said, I am fine, just tired from work, and she said, okay, good, and walked away. On December 28th, I withdrew all my money from the secret account in cash because I did not want any electronic trail. I packed my car late at night when my parents were asleep, loading everything into the trunk and back seat covered with blankets, so if anyone looked, it just seemed like I had winter supplies. And on December 30th, I went to my job and I quit, and my manager said, Harper, is everything okay? And I said, everything is fine. I just need a change. And she hugged me and said, good luck with whatever comes next. And I almost cried because she had been kinder to me in that moment than my parents had been in years. December 31st, 2025 was the day everything came together. My parents were hosting a New Year's Eve party just like they did every year, and just like every year I was told to stay in my room out of the way because we do not need you underfoot. And I said, okay, and I went upstairs and I waited until the party was in full swing, until the music was loud and everyone was drunk and distracted, and at 11:30 p.m. I crept downstairs with my backpack and I walked out the back door and I got in my car and I drove away. I did not leave a note right away because I did not want them to find it too soon. I wanted a head start, so I drove through the night, stopping only for gas, using cash for everything, and I made it to Aunt Rachel's house in Oregon by January 1st at 3 p.m., and she opened the door and hugged me and said, welcome home, Harper, you are safe now. And I finally let myself cry, but I was not done yet because I needed them to know this was not impulsive, this was not a mistake. So on January 1st, I wrote a letter and I mailed it from Oregon, addressed to my parents, and I timed it so it would arrive on January 2nd, the same day. I knew they would finally check my room and realize I was gone, and the letter said this: Mom and Dad, by the time you read this letter, you will have already found my room empty. You will have already realized I am gone, and you will probably be angry or confused or maybe just inconvenienced that I am not there to do the things you have always expected me to do. But I want you to know that this was not a sudden decision. This was 6 months in the planning, 6 months of saving money and finding a safe place and preparing for a life where I am not invisible. I have spent 17 years being the child you forget about, the one you only notice when you need something done, and I am tired. I am tired of being an afterthought. I am tired of staying in my room so I do not get in the way. I am tired of pretending that this is what family is supposed to feel like. So I left, and I am not coming back. I am safe. I am with family who actually sees me, and before you call the police or try to drag me home, you should know that I have documented everything. I have journals and text messages and voice recordings. I have proof that I was emotionally neglected for years, and if you try to force me back, I will use it. I do not hate you, I just do not want to be invisible anymore, and the only way to be seen was to disappear so completely that you finally had to acknowledge I existed. So this is goodbye, not forever maybe, but for now, because I need to figure out who I am when I am not just the kid you forget, love, Harper. I mailed that letter and then I went back to Aunt Rachel's and I got a new phone and a new number, and I blocked my parents on everything. And on January 2nd, 2026 at approximately 2 p.m., my mom finally went upstairs to ask me to come help clean up after the party, and she opened my door and found my room completely empty. The bed stripped, the closet bare, the walls naked, and taped to my mirror was a printed note that said, "Check your mail," and that is when they panicked. My mom called my old number 63 times that day, I know, because I kept my old phone just to watch, and she left voicemails that started, "Angry Harper, this is not funny, come home right now," and shifted to panicked, "Harper, please call me back. Where are you? Are you safe?" and ended with something almost like regret, "Harper, I do not understand why you left. We can talk about this, please just come home." My dad called too, and his messages were more controlled, "Harper, your mother is very upset. You need to come home and explain yourself. This is unacceptable." And I listened to every single voicemail, and I felt nothing, no guilt, no sadness, just relief, because I had finally done it. I had finally escaped, and they could call all they wanted, but I was never going back. On January 3rd, they received my letter, and my mom called again, and this time she was crying, "Harper, I read your letter. I did not know you felt this way. We can fix this. Please come home." And I almost felt bad until I remembered all the times I told her I felt invisible, and she said I was being dramatic all the times I needed her, and she was not there all the birthdays. She forgot all the moments that mattered to me that did not matter to her, and I deleted the voicemail. Over the next week, they tried everything. They called Aunt Rachel, but she told them I was safe and refused to tell them where I was. They called my old job, but I had already quit. They called my school, but I had already requested my transcripts be sent to my new school. They even filed a police report, but when the officer did a welfare check and saw that I was clean, fed, safe, and living with a relative, he told my parents she is almost 18. There is nothing we can do, and honestly, it seems like she had good reasons to leave, and that was it. They could not force me back. They could not manipulate me. They could not guilt me into returning, because I had planned for everything. And now on January 2nd, 2026, while they are finally realizing I am gone, I am sitting in a coffee shop in Oregon drinking a latte and enrolling in online classes and applying for jobs and planning my 18th birthday. In 2 months, when I will be legally free and they will have no claim on me at all. Because revenge is not always about confrontation. Sometimes it is about preparation. Sometimes it is about planning your escape so carefully that by the time they realize you are gone, it is already too late to stop you. And the best part is that every time they go into my empty room, every time they need something I used to do, every time they realize how much I actually contributed, they will remember that they had 17 years to see me, and they chose not to, and now they never will again. So tell me, if you spent 6 months planning your escape while your family was too busy to notice, would you feel guilty, or would you feel exactly like I do right now, finally free?